Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Podcast. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. Well,
Yes.
it is happening right now. And what is happening is we'll call it now the Key 3 season, where the Summer Games Fest is now officially on, and there are all sorts of different things being announced for the Summer Game Fest. But we will first off start by what we've been playing, and we're going to start with you because you upgraded your your home recently with some nice digs, and it led you to play a different game. So, what have you been playing?
So, I've been playing Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 on PS5 because, one, it was on sale from the State of Play sale that's going on via the PlayStation Store right now, and two, it's one of the few games that actually has a really good usage of multi-channel audio, which is great because the receiver stereo system setup that I upgraded to is a 5.1.4 system, so Dolby Atmos and all that good stuff. So lots of environmental sound and replication and everything. So really, really fantastic stuff. And playing the game on the surround sound system is just completely unreal stuff. Mostly because you can hear just everything. So like if you're kind of skulking around an enemy camp and you hear or you see some guys moving towards your direction, and yeah, you can just hear them progressively move from like the front of you to the back of you, just from the speakers alone. And it's great for spatial awareness because you can just go, okay, those guys have passed, cool, I can keep on moving. And then of course, since it for anyone who's not familiar with the Sniper Ghost Warrior series, it's essentially just like the Sniper Elite games, but instead of where the Sniper Elite games are set in the eras of World War I and World War II, the Ghost Warrior branded games are set more in the modern day. So you've got like modern day weapons and things like that. But much like Sniper Elite, if you get really, really insane distance shots, then the game will take you through the bullet camera with like the gory bullet trajectory deaths, where you can like dismember a dude, just decapitate them from like pure force of the bullet and everything.
Or shoot them in the nuts and watch their testicles explode.
Yep, that too.
Oh yes, I know. So Sniper Elite and that is part of the same parent series, or it's just
it's really just a change in setting. So
okay.
The Sniper Ghost Warrior brand that is just modern day, whereas Sniper Elite, World War I, World War II.
Okay, and these are more stealth-based games to an extent, right?
Yeah. So if you're kind of more on the side of a person who likes to kind of take it slow and be sort of methodical and like to play puzzle games, then this might actually be sort of interesting to you because everything has a pattern. Everything has sort of its own way to be solved, and the game also shows you this by all the challenges you can do. Like one of the assassination targets in the first mission, there are like 3 ways to assassinate the guy. Like the first way, which only earns you like a little bit of cash, is just plain shooting him from a distance. So like if you do that, then you get rewarded like $5,000. But then you get some of the harder challenges, like you need to shoot your target while he's in a garage talking to his buddy, and that one requires you to shoot a garage door switch to open the garage door, exposing the guy, and then to immediately then follow up a shot and kill the guy while he's standing freaking out in the garage and everything. And then one of the other methods is like kill this guy by shooting explosive barrels that are right next to him, and to basically just blow him up and set him on fire. So basically just if you're kind of into into like the puzzle solving aspect of it, it's almost kind of similar to like Hitman 2. So
Just about to ask that. Yes.
yeah, so if that's kind of your thing, then yeah, just Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 might be up your alley. Unfortunately, by the time this podcast airs, the state of play sale will be over, but
Hmm.
um, just in case if anyone wants to keep a watch on it for like a future sale, then yeah, just if you're into stuff like Hitman 2 um, and the Sniper Elite games, I would probably say give this one a look. Especially if you've got either good gaming headphones that do multi-channel audio or if you've got a good home theater setup. Just the sound design is really good.
Now, is the gameplay like I know a lot of people who enjoy like Hitman. They enjoy the fact that you can not only do these creative kills, but you can do it in multiple ways. Do they allow that in this game where you can be more creative with how you kill somebody, or is it just? I guess it has to be. You have to be a sniper to kill them, so you have to do it from a distance. Is there more creativity to it than that, or is it just you find the one puzzle, you solve it, and then you move on, and there's no deviation from it at all?
There's a lot of deviation, especially once you start doing more and more contracts and earning more and more cash.
Okay.
Because at that point, when you start getting the cash rolling, then you unlock the ability to buy more tools, more toys, uh, different weapons, different types of bullets, all sorts of little gadgets that sort of open up your gameplay options.
Hmm.
Like one of the things that you can buy is a remote sniping drone, and with the remote sniping drone, what that lets you do is you can start setting up like synchronized kills with your remote drone. So you can take your binoculars and kind of scope out at a distance. Like let's say it's two guards that are surrounding this one isolated entrance to where like a guy's being held prisoner, for example, as a hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say those are thankfully the only two guys around. There aren't any other guys within like a um, 10-15 mile radius. So you could train your remote rifle to pick off the guy on the left of the door, and then you end up sighting in the target on the right of the door. And then when you shoot the guy on the right, then your remote sniper rifle will also synchronize with you and pick off the guy on the left. So you can do like a simultaneous kill
Hmm.
and kind of open that things that way. You can use a drone to do reconnaissance, and you can even use the drone to hack too. So like if there's like a small a guardhouse that's got like a video surveillance system going on, then you can take the drone, fly it in, have the drone hack the system, and just take down the video feed and leave the guards completely blind. Um, and then there's also sort of the close-up game too, where you can end up kind of picking off the guards up at close range, and um, it's kind of neat because you can also interrogate the guards too. So, like if you see this guy, who's way outside of the base, like by like at 20 feet or something because he went out to go smoke or went out to go pee in the bushes or something,
Mm-hmm.
you can just kind of hold him hostage and just interrogate him and depending on what their rank is and how much they know, then either you might get some useful information or you might even um, get get advanced information like how many guards are in the area that you're currently in and trying to infiltrate through and everything.
Hmm.
So, just lots and lots of avenues of play, and yeah, definitely, the game definitely doesn't restrict you to sort of like the cookie cutter options. There's definitely multiple ways to sort of work out how you get to the final solution.
Now, you got your new sound system.
Yeah.
How is the sound integrated into the game, and how good is it?
The sound is multi-channel stereo, so thankfully most surround sound systems should be able to process it. Unfortunately, the PS5 is not Dolby Atmos certified,
Mm-hmm.
unlike the Xbox Series X. which games on the Series X, that's a whole different animal, especially with Dolby Atmos. But um, for the most part, just the sound, the multi-channel stereo is really good just for sort of situational awareness. Like I've had moments where I would skulk around and just wouldn't be paying attention. Then I'd suddenly hear from the rear channel speakers that I hear some conversation from guards getting louder. So I just instantly sort of drop myself prone and hide in the bushes and go, okay, okay, you guys are behind me. Just keep on moving. You don't see me. I'm just in the bushes.
Okay. So, over how much did you spend on the game?
Um, it's real cheap right now on the PlayStation sale right now. I'm almost kind of curious if I can find out. Yeah, it's the complete edition.
Mm-hmm.
$30.
30. Okay. Worth it for you?
Yeah. Especially since or yeah, especially since I was kind of leery paying full price for it. I was just like, I'm not too sure, but yeah, just when I saw it on the state of play sale for $30, I was like, $30 and I get all the DLC? Okay, yeah, sounds great to me.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. So, I guess you would recommend this to anybody who, I guess, likes the style of game?
Yeah, if you're a person who sort of likes the slow, methodical approach and possibly enjoys puzzle games, then yeah, just Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 is probably worth the purchase when it's on a sale if you're kind of hazy on it. But if you're really, really into stuff like Hitman and just sort of being able to get creative on how you kill a target and everything, then yeah, this game is probably not too bad at regular price, but it's going to feel like a steal when it's on sale.
Okay. All right. And it's on sale for $30 right now.
Yeah, for the last 12 or 14 hours of
Oh
the
yeah, well, it won't
state of
be.
play sale.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. um. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Zero, we've been both playing a game, and it's the biggest release of last week. It's the most talked about, and it seems like it's the most talked about for all the wrong reasons. What are we talking about here?
Diablo Immortal, which came
Yes.
out for mobile platforms, so iOS and Android, and also Windows PC.
Right. Um, you've been playing it on the phone, like I guess, well, like it's intended. Um,
Both on my iPad Pro and my PC.
okay. All right, that's right. You told me you had issues with the iPad Pro a bit when it came to playing that game, right?
Well, it was just the initial graphic detection because for some reason it had my graphic settings down to like medium and the game running at 30 frames per second, and it just kind of had me sort of scratching my head. I'm just like, yeah, the game should not be running in this poor performance mode. Just uh, I know what this iPad Pro is capable of,
Mm-hmm.
and sure enough, I go into the settings and I just crank everything to ultra, run it at 60 frames per second, and yeah, the game just smoothens out. I'm just like, okay, well, um, not off to a great start, guys. The auto detect for the graphics settings can't even properly detect that I can do much more powerful graphics settings, so
Okay.
not to a great start.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let's get down to Diablo Immortal. We'll talk about the game first. So, um, already you said that you had problems with the detection of graphics in the game, which is annoying, but not that big of a deal, I would say. Am I right?
Yeah, it was quite minor. It was just more of an annoyance, if anything.
Okay. I was playing it on PC. It detected that I had the capability of playing it on very high for everything, so I was fine there. Um, but when you get into the game, and I'm talking because I've been playing it just on PC, it is clear as day that this is meant to be a mobile game because the amount of like it's not bad looking, but it was clear that in PC, when it's blown up on a screen, that they didn't put a lot of detail into the game, because you were meant to play it on a small screen with some of your thumbs, your thumbs kind of covering certain aspects. So already the look was kind of to me when I played it. And then you see the UI and everything, and the UI, despite it still being played on PC, the problem I had really was the buttons are still, they still look like it still looks like you're playing it on a mobile phone. So when you move your mouse cursor to, let's say, move your character to not get hit, I accidentally press the exit button or the menu button or the map button or things like that. And it just becomes clear when you play it on PC that all they did to make it be available on PC was to make a minor emulator, like maybe like a BlueStacks like emulator, and just put a keyboard overlay over it, and that's it. And it's clear they did that because in a lot of aspects of the game, where it says when you start the game, tap to play, where you're clicking a button to play, or tap this thing to get to navigate here, or tap this or to destroy this item, and you're using your mouse. So I think in that aspect, when it comes to presentation, I was actually really disappointed that they were kind of lazy about porting this over to PC.
Yeah, and to your point about the visual design of it not being great,
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit sad too because I know one of the complaints that you had mentioned when we were talking privately about this was
Mm-hmm.
just the colors just seem so washed out and drab,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the only settings you have for the color are just like four different color palettes,
Like
and
it's like cool, warm, like really generic descriptions that only change the color settings slightly, but not satisfying enough where you would be like, ah, that's better. You'd be like, that looks less shitty, but in a different way. That this looks kind of shitty in another way. It never, like, I finally chose one and just stuck with it, but I was never satisfied with the look.
yeah. And I sort of felt the same way. I think I just left it on the quote unquote original color tone setting,
Yeah.
and I was just like, this will just do because the cool palette just washes things out way too much and gives way too blue of a tint to it, and I think that was the only color palette I just ended up settling on.
Now, despite that, like, it's still, even when you're playing on the iPad, it still looks washed out. It still looks unsatisfying.
Yeah, just
Okay. All right.
just it was real disappointing because I was just like, I know my iPad Pro has an awesome screen for stuff, so this game should look pretty decent. But even to me, it just kind of looked kind of washed out, even when playing around with all four of the color palette settings.
I guess the only defense I would have for it is that if this is specifically supposed to be just for phones, then I guess I can understand that after you blow it up onto an iPad or onto a computer screen, that things are going to look washed out and lack of detail. But at that point, it'll be like, why? Well, I was going to say, why even make the game for that? But you want to give more options to play a game, especially if you want a lot of people to play it. So I guess that's okay. But it's still, like, the look of it, especially for a Diablo game, which Diablo games, despite being standard ARPG point and click affairs, are still visually satisfying. Like, I played Diablo 3 whenever I feel like it, and the game still looks distinctive and looks really nice, despite it being now a 9-year-old game.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I can't help but be disappointed by this. Especially, and I'm specifically disappointed with just how they made everything, how they did the PC version. And to me, it's like a sure sign of, people who say, oh, Blizzard's not Blizzard anymore. This kind of proves it to me, because the old Blizzard, some would say the old Blizzard wouldn't make a mobile cache-in. I push back at that. I think they would, but if they would make it, they would make sure the PC version looks fantastic, and they would make sure that the iPad version looked really good, and it would look really good on everything and playable on everything, so everyone can enjoy the way they want to play it. This clearly wasn't the case in this. They decided, we're going to make it this way, and people complained, so yeah, let's just put it on an emulator and they can play it there, I guess. There you go. It is how I feel about it.
Yeah, and for me, it just really felt that way, especially comparing and contrasting from when I was playing it on my iPad Pro versus playing it on my PC. Because on iPad, just if it didn't have any Diablo branding, I probably wouldn't have been the wiser that it was probably just another mobile game.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. I was just like, wow, actually, just this seems like a decently competent mobile game. Okay, interesting.
Like,
And
I not that I really rely on Twitter for good takes, but there were a number of people who were saying this doesn't look any better than most ARPG stuff on phones out there. And that's, I don't know if that was an insult to Diablo or to say that there are better stuff out there than Diablo Immortal, but it just, that in old Blizzard, the old Blizzard way, that would have never been the case. I mean, they completed a whole game at one point and scrapped it when they realized it wasn't the best that they could have made. I mean, that's old Blizzard. That's like, there is a complete game out there. There's two complete games, I think, that are out there that they will refuse to release because it's not perfect. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's not something that's up to our quality, so we will just scrap it. And I think old Blizzard would have taken a look at this and went, no, we need to do better. And I would say in the looks-wise and presentation-wise, they would have said, no, we need to do better than this, and go over it again. So,
yeah, and I agree. This the way the game came out, it would have never passed old Blizzard's level of quality control. They would have been like, no, we cannot in good conscience release it, but it is what it is, so
yeah, unfortunately. Well, that being said, though, I can't say it's a bad game gameplay-wise, because it is still satisfying to click on things and watch them die. You have the loot drops, you have everything that a Diablo is. It's just, and this is equally annoying on PC, it's just a small view that you have to do all the action. And especially with how crowded the UI is, it's really, I think, like I mentioned before, it's really easy to move your mouse and to click on something to move and accidentally click a map or click a menu or click a button and be annoyed by that because I didn't mean to do that, but because these buttons are in the way, But the main gameplay loop is still satisfying. You defeat enemies, you pick up loot, you beat bosses, you pick up better loot, you equip that better loot, you get gems to sock it into that loot, and then you go on rifts to, gameplay-wise, this is actually very satisfying to me, because it's still Diablo. You still have the same core tenets, even though it's not as smooth as the PC and console versions. And you're still, but you're given a lot to do, whether you want to do the main story or if you want to do challenge rifts or elder rifts to gain better items, to get better equipment and things like that. That's still really satisfying.
Yeah, and I'm with you as far as the gameplay. Just personally, I like running minion master sort of builds in
Okay.
Diablo. So for me, I went necromancer,
I
and
did too.
um, the first thing they start you with is literally just two skeletons, and I was just like, oh, perfect. Just we're getting right to the get-go instead of the usual beginning for a necromancer in Diablo 3, which is, hey, yeah, so here's your wand, and you shoot a little wimpy projectile, and you don't get minions until I forget, it's like level 8 or level 10
Mm.
is when you get the summon skeletons spell. I forget.
Yeah,
Been
it's been
many
a while.
years since I've played Diablo 3, but for them to just kind of get that out of the way from the get-go, it was just like, oh, nice. We can start rocking and rolling.
Yeah. And that is that. I'm playing Necromancer too. And if I knew you were playing Necromancer, I probably would have went Crusader. But anyway, yeah, and to press the keys on the press 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the abilities to pop up with the cone, the cone that come up to show where it's going to hit and everything, all super satisfying, all done very well. It's just the issue. The issue I have is just it's not as smooth as Diablo 3, and that's probably because it's made for phones. So I get that to a certain extent, but it just doesn't feel as satisfying to an extent. But because if we get into gameplay modes, because they offer you so much to do while you're playing the campaign, it's still fun. It's still actually a lot of fun to play the game and go through the game. It is just definitely a shrunk down Diablo 3 to an extent. Like I call it a 3.5 to me.
Yeah. And that's kind of the assessment I got to because um, the story is slightly better than Diablo 3, not by very much, and well, just Diablo 3 wasn't really a grand paragon of game story design, mind
No,
you.
no, they're not.
So,
No.
but it was just kind of like, wow, I'm surprised that the story's slightly better than expected. Wow, did not expect that one. So, it was kind of interesting to kind of run into that, but. Um, yeah, it was just one of those things that was sort of weird. I was just like, wow, they actually put some effort in the story. Okay, you know,
Yeah, but
kind of
not a lot of effort though, because
no, definitely not a lot.
I paid attention to the story for a little bit, and then after all, I was like, I'll skip it. I was like, it's not that entertaining. So
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely not anything to write home about, but it was just more one of those. Huh, that's a surprise. Okay, well, you know, at least they can say that they try to put some effort into the story. Okay,
yeah,
so that was interesting enough, but yeah, just uh, funny enough, just I ended up having to stop myself from playing the game and everything because just um, the game gets really hammy before the wall really hits you,
wouldn't it?
especially after you complete like certain milestones, and the game will say, "Hey, by the way, so you beat this one milestone, so um, here's like a power up pack for like 99 cents,
Yes,
and
yes.
this pack is a whopping 860% off value, so." Oh, buy, and of
Oh
course
yeah,
I'm just like,
it is ridiculous what they do with that. Like you're absolutely right. You're not over exaggerating. The first boss you kill, afterwards a pop up shows up on the upper left hand side that says I guess the name I forgot the name of the actual pack. I think it was the Mad King pack, and excuse me, they you click on the thing and you have to click on it for it to go away and it says, and it's just a big screen that has this box filled with jewels and tells you what's in there, and it says 860% great value. And I look at that and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything because I don't know how much any of these things are really worth. It's just like,
yeah.
what are you doing? But I know you had the self control to say, yeah, no, not me. Not me. Um, I'm looking at all the charges right now that I paid to Blizzard because I was really curious about the game and to see how it played with the microtrans. Are we on to microtransactions now?
Yeah, because it just as much fun as the gameplay is, just unfortunately, just it really starts to weed into the realm of the microtransactions.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this is sort of a natural place to transition into
Okay.
microtransactions.
Okay. So let me start off by saying, so far I've spent $30 on microtransactions in the game, and
Okay,
I've only been playing it for
so
3 days.
so I assume Battle Pass,
Yep.
the few intro packs that are like $1 each,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe one of the Eternal Gem packs, I'm assuming.
No, I got the boon of plenty.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So the
Now,
monthly premium subscriber thingy.
yes, and yeah, once you get into the game starts in reality, like you go through the tutorial and you beat the first boss. Then the microtransactions start popping up in frequency, and you start to really get exactly how they're going to make their money. I mean, yeah, I've put down $30 in the game already, and I got the empowered pass, which allows you to get the first 14 rungs free. Well, not free, you paid for it, but you get the first 14 rungs, and then after that it's the boon of plenty, which every day they give you something. I guess they give you something in there, but you have to sign in every day to get it, or else you lose it. I found that out. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, and then three of the packs after you defeat a boss. Yeah, I would purchase those and be like, 99 cents, whatever, and then purchase it. And so far, it's I hate to say this. So far, after spending $30, it's interesting how it doesn't go anywhere for you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was something that I had started to see a lot of complaints on from video game forums, the um, unofficial Diablo Immortal subreddit, and even news articles sort of popping up that, just for as much as some people are dropping on stuff like Eternal Gems and these little boost packs and things like that, um, sometimes just it doesn't seem like it's that much of a boost.
yeah, it really doesn't feel that way. I when you get through certain bosses and certain stages of the game, they introduce new mechanics for you. So I think in the early ones they told you that you can socket gems to get different powers. And then they tell you, okay, now it's time to power up those gems. What they don't tell you is that in order to power up those gems, you need gems. So
Yep.
basically, all the gems that I got from those packs are now being used to power up those gems. So instead of getting like a bountiful of gems where I can just socket here and there and see what works best, I have to make the decision of, do I want to use this gem? And if I do, am I going to sacrifice all these gems I just got to boost it up one level? And
Yeah.
that's kind of that's pretty unsatisfying to then say, well, I got all this stuff for being a premium member. Oh, I can just level up one gem? Huh. Okay, I guess. Like that's really unsatisfying.
Oh
Um
yeah. And just the other piece that they sort of introduce on how reliant the game is with regards to stuff like uh, gosh, stuff like the legendary. I forget what they're called to plug into the challenge and elder rifts. Um,
no, the crests.
Yeah, the legendary
Mhm.
crests and stuff like that. Yeah, just when you do your first challenge rift, and then when you do your first Elder Rift, they give you they give you a couple of the little cheapy lower grade crests for free.
Yeah,
Just I mean, it's the old drug dealer approach. The first hit's free,
right,
and of course, um, you yeah you see it in the UI when you start plugging in these legendary crests. More more little treasure boxes of potential loot open up and are shown on the screen. It's just like, oh hey, you plugged in one. Okay, yeah, so you're gonna get additional gold from this. Oh, you plugged in two. Okay, well, you're gonna get uh, more gear dropped from this one.
right.
You plugged in three. Okay, since these are the cheapy freebie crests that we gave you, you might have like a very small percentage chance of getting a gem, but don't expect anything too good.
Well, no, you get gems don't you get gems regardless? It's just the star rating of the gem that is the problem. Because
Well, I think it's if you're playing with no crests, then you do not get any gems. If you
oh
use the
Jesus.
cheapy little blue legendary crests,
Hmm.
I think there's a very small percentage. And then if you use the purple ones, then there's a higher chance of you uh getting gems. In particular, um, you can get a 5-star gem. And when I was reading about this from people who were actually dumping cash to get the eternal gems to buy more stacks and stacks of legendary crests, um, it's really kind of shitty when you pull up the screen to load up the purple legendary crest into the Elder Challenge Rift, because when you do, the game tells you, oh, hey, there's a potential chance you could get a 5-star gem. And then in the fine print, when you hover over the little question mark on it, and or something to the sort, in the fine print, it says, hey, what we're saying is you can get a, a gem that has 5 total stars in it, but you could potentially get a 5-star gem with 2 stars filled in, 3 stars filled in, 4 stars filled in, and 5 stars filled in.
Yeah.
And then someone on the Diablo Immortal subreddit, who's I think a either statistician or a mathematician, had did the percentages with regards to these little 5-star gems, and I think it was something like one of the crappy 2-star gems that can potentially rank up to 5 stars. Like the potential chance of getting one of those, if you do land on a quote unquote 5-star gem, is like 75% of the time. But with extrapolating for like the potential of getting other gems like a 4-star, 3-star gem, it's somewhere to the tune of like 10 or 15%. And then the chances of landing on like a 5-star, um, completely filled in with 5 stars, a ranked gem,
Hmm.
it's like 0.05%.
Yeah. It's
And
terrible. Yeah.
yeah, and some people are just trying to compare it to stuff like some of the rare items that you could get in like Raid Shadow Legends, and it's just like,
Oh good God.
holy cow, this is as bad as like Raid Shadow Legends. This
Yeah.
is absolutely abysmal.
Yeah. And God, it's awful. It really, like, okay. I'm gonna use an example, and only because I have experience with it. I'll use MLB The Show. Okay. Um, as much as I don't like how the Diamond Dynasty works in MLB The Show, their odds are not as bad as this. So, for an example, to get a 90 overall or above, I think it's a 1 in 30. It's a 1 in 30 chance to get someone that powerful. And that's not great odds, but it's still doable. I mean, it's still like it still doesn't seem impossible. I guess that's what I want to say. But when you say 0.05, that's like, I think that's, God, I wish I was a statistician, but it seems like it's 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000 chance of getting that item.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the worst part of it is also, you could also end up getting a bad version of that 5-star item. You could probably get you go, oh, I got a 5-star gem. Oh my God, of the one I don't want. Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awful. And then so I'm only level 30. I'm not that far in, but from what I heard, also you have to, in order to really grind Elder Rifts, you have to pay for those crests. You have to spend money to get crests at times.
Yeah, because I believe if I remember how the game words it, you'll only get one legendary crest per month if you
Yeah.
just play for free. So essentially, I mean, if you're a person who just doesn't really care about the gear grind and just doesn't mind that you may be waiting for a couple months to save up 3 legendary crests to pop it on either a challenge rift or an elder rift, then yeah, sure, knock yourself out. But most people, the allure and the draw is just going to be so hard to resist, and it's just going to be like, well, my friends are getting kitted out in some really serious looking gear. I want to be able to keep up pace with them and not feel like I'm dragging them behind. So, I got to throw in money and start getting more and more crests to keep up.
I just unlocked clans in the game, but I also noticed with war bands, I'm not sure what the difference between the two is, but in some war bands, they require you, in order to be in it, to have the battle pass and the boon of plenty, in order to be in, because those offer bonuses if you're in a group if you have the boon of plenty. So there are all sorts of I would call them pretty dirty tactics to get you to pay up and be part of these subscriptions, because they offer
Yeah.
bonuses, and if you're the only one that doesn't have a bonus, that means everyone's getting a lesser bonus. So you're going to be one that's weighing people down. So yeah, it is common. It is a very common tactic that these free to play games actually do. So in that aspect, this isn't new. This is not a new thing at all. I mean, I think you play Epic 7, right? And they're pretty terrible with their odds too, right?
Um, they're terrible with their odds, but they actually have like a good forgiveness mechanic.
Oh, pity system.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
so like with the banner summons, if you try to summon like a promo character and blow through 120 summons, then your 121st summon is a guaranteed hit on the banner character.
Okay.
So at least there's some forgiveness that, hey, if you just try to pull for this one character and you just don't after 120 pulls, then and the game will pretty much say, hey, guaranteed character pull on pull number 121. Then just at least you go, okay, sucks that I blew that many summoning tickets on them, but I want this character, and now that I have a guaranteed shot, okay, sure, why not? So whereas the whole rift system, there's no safety or guaranteed drop on like a 5-star rank 5 gem. Like the fact that you can run a gamut between a rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5 5-star gem.
Hmm.
That's wow. I mean, for me, with playing stuff like Epic 7, I'm just like, wow, that's incredibly scummy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, they do have a pity system in this game, by the way. The pity system is basically with the legendary crests. If you do not get a 5-star, if let me read this correctly. So you mentioned that the star system, they may show that it has 5 stars, but You're not guaranteed to have all 5 stars filled out.
Yep, exactly.
The pity system works that you'll get a 5-star gem, but there's no guarantee the 5 stars will be filled out at all. And that's after 50 items on a legendary crest, that if you don't get it, then you're essentially guaranteed. But again, you're not guaranteed to get a 5-star fill. You're just gonna get a 5-star item. And that amount amounts to, it looks like $125 worth of purchases in order to get to that pity system.
Oh, Jesus.
Which, I think it was Young Yeah who pointed out that you can buy the $100 worth of globes, but that doesn't give you 50 crests. It gives you 45 crests. So you would have to purchase more than $100 to get to that pity amount. And that's awful. That's really bad. And I think that's what's shocking a lot of people who, and honestly, I think it's just people who are either not aware, or not aware, but they don't play free-to-play games, or they don't play games that have gacha mechanics a lot. Like, they see gacha mechanics and they say, oh, fuck this, I'm not playing this, and then goodbye. Like, the tactics are scummy, but the odds don't surprise me at all. When this was announced, and well, not when it was announced, but when previews started going out and everything about how good the gameplay was, I was like, something is going to give here, and it's not going to be good, because even on the alpha, they turned off all the microtransactions, and and people say this is really satisfying. It's a good Diablo on phones. Okay, but what is it that we're going to be paying for? And it looks like everything is what you're paying for. Everything. And that's the other thing, too, that I forgot to mention. I paid for $30 worth of stuff. This is not... The stuff I'm getting is not account-wide. It's character-wide. So if you...
Right, because I remember, one of the things that I had gotten was a pre-registration bonus, because I'd signed up my my Apple account to make sure to pre-download the game when it was available for iPad and iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember logging in. It was like, hey, so because you registered your interest early, we're going to give you like a free cosmetic legendary skin pack. Mm-hmm. And when you go to redeem it, it says, warning, is this the character you want to redeem this reward on? Know that if you do, you may not redeem this reward on any other character in your account.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure about this 100%, but from what other people, and this is the problem right now with this game, because it's gotten so much hate and backlash, we can't, until we get to that point, we can't verify whether these claims are true, because there's a lot of outlandish shit that's being said, and I'd rather be honest and just say we don't know exactly, but this is what's being said. But from what I've heard, is those programs that I bought, the Battle Pass and the Boon of Plenty, they don't carry over to the other character. You'd have to purchase that again for the second character.
Ugh.
And
if true, that would be awful.
But you know what? It kind of makes sense, because I looked at the pass, and it looks like I'm just getting all the cosmetic stuff. Somehow the cosmetic stuff are all necromancer. So either that is the case, and each pass is for each character specifically, or I guess that they just show that one item, but you get all the items. I'm not sure, but I doubt that's the case too. So I don't know. But that's what I've heard, is that basically everything you buy is for that one specific character only. Like, if you buy $100 worth of orbs, it's for that one character. You can't then use those orbs and say, I'll use that on my barbarian. No, you have to log into the barbarian, buy the orbs, and those orbs are connected to that barbarian specifically. Is what I am hearing. Have I checked it? No, but that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah, just wow. Talk about really punishing folks who sort of want to experiment around and everything. It sounds like you have to get the experimenting out and done early before you decide to settle on one character and just start throwing cash down.
And how much do you want to bet they're gonna start charging for character slots? Because there's only 5 character slots in the main menu, and there's 7 characters.
Oh yeah, easily.
And and most Diablo players, there are some who prefer to play one character and play that to perfection. Okay, but most are gonna be like, yeah, this season I already did Necromancer. I think next season I'll do Barbarian, or I'll do Wizard next. And that's how I usually play it. But in this, you either have to say, okay, I guess I have to delete the character now that I've spent $300 on in order for me to play Wizard this month. How shitty is that going to be? And I guarantee you they'll come up with, oh, we have an option for you. Pay $10 and get 5 extra slots. I'm like, God damn it. It's like, really?
Yeah. And that sort of situation is really sad too, because I know some people get at least in Diablo 3 would get real attached to their seasonal characters, and they just go, just it sucks. One of the recent patches nerfed how this one mechanic works, but I spent 20, 30, 40, 100 hours just maxing out the gear and everything. And I guess I'll move it to the non-seasonal slot and just retire it. And, if I've got friends over, just this character will be just available for fun for people to kind of screw around on.
And it will have the gear that you earned with the specific things that are on the gear that make it unique. And that was cool. You can do that.
Yep. And with that piece, it sort of gets into one thing that I'd been reading, which is just the amount of cash to either max out a gem or to max out your gear, and just the numbers that I've seen people calculate. It's just simply astronomical levels of insanity.
See, I read that too, and a part of me is like, are you using fuzzy math on this? Because I don't want to defend these people, okay? I don't want to defend a company who is going to extort their fan base to get more money out of them. But that being said, I mean, if you're having fun with a game, all right? I mean, me and you are both guilty with this. If you're really having fun with a game and you want to continue to support it, that's up to you. You can do that. I mean, I spent on... I think Warframe, I spent about upwards of $300 on the game. And with Gwent, I think it was $400. And I was completely satisfied. But the numbers I'm hearing, that I'm seeing, like, I think one article said to fully max out your character is $110,000.
Yeah. Which, when I had saw that one report about just some people doing, at least from what I could infer from the article, just some rough math, like nothing like super 100% solid, just someone sort of spitballing some math around to kind of, just play with numbers and see how they land and everything. Yeah, just that one article saying to max out all of your gear and just be 100% right at the top of the gear score and everything, that it would run you almost $110,000 in eternal gems. It just floored me just reading that. I was just like, that's just insane. It's just like I know some mobile games can be bad. I mean, and I hear Raid is pretty bad about it. I've heard some other games are pretty bad with just the monetization, but to hear that just for the current season even. So this isn't even taking into account future seasons, that if you wanted to immediately be right at the top of the gear score, you'd have to drop the equivalent of almost $110,000. Just absolute insanity. And to think that if it's going to be like Diablo 3, once the season's over, you're going to have to start over and get back on the gear treadmill again,
Yeah.
just to think that 100 that you would be throwing away a character you fueled with $110,000. It just boggles the mind.
Okay. That sounds terrible. But you'd have to start asking questions as to how they got to that number. Like, are you talking about somebody who just dumps cash after cash after cash after cash after cash and not caring about moving and playing the game gradually? Or are we talking about somebody who is playing the game and then is at a roadblock and says, okay, I'll throw $5 in, and then do that, and they'll play the game and they'll play the game until roadblock, and then okay, $5, and then roadblock, $5. Are we talking about that? From the articles I've read, they don't really go into great detail about that. Because if you're someone who's a whale and is being like $110,000, yeah, okay, sure, fine, and here's the cash, here's the cash, here's the cash, here's the cash. Oh, I got all the great gear, awesome, and then that's it. Yeah, of course they're going to spend $110 if that's all they're going to do. But if, like, let me be clear. If it's $1,000, it's way too damn much. But I just really wonder how they got the numbers on that. Like how they, because right now the popular thing to do right now is to shit all over this game, and it's earned it. I'm not defending it. It's definitely earned it. But this is where bad information starts to run rampant, where people start to say like, "Yo, my friend like spent $300 on crests and only got one gem. It was 3 stars. It's fucked up, man. Right? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, proof. Yeah, just trust me, bro. Like, okay, sure, okay, great.
Yeah, at least from what I can determine, because they're in the Diablo Immortals, excuse me, Diablo Immortal thread about this. So, basically, the breakdown is that uh, to max out a single stat is around 50K, and then that's assuming that uh, just you end up getting some pretty good breaks and stuff like that. But um, basically, so ideally you would need somewhere to the tune of like 20,000 crests, which is right around 45K. And then you have to unlock the resonating boards and um, to 5 stars, and that's where it starts to just really start to be just this gigantic stratospheric climb of just getting the gems, unlocking the gems to be maxed out and everything. And if I'm understanding some of the math that's in this Reddit thread, um, it sounds like in the absolute worst case, like you just get nothing but just bad rolls. It would that's where the 100 and $110,000 number is coming from. If you just get absolute garbage rolls,
Yeah,
just
like constantly garbage roll after garbage roll after garbage roll, and you have just zero luck, and you just keep getting 1 star stuff, and that's it. That's where the math is coming from, right? Is that
yeah, that's what I'm understanding from
okay?
reading this Reddit thread.
So that's really not representative of most people, I would say. It's
Yeah, and
still
that's where a second news article that or rather a second Reddit thread that was, um, I believe the guy is a amateur statistician or an amateur mathematician.
how do you
Um,
become an amateur mathematician?
I guess their definition was basically that they like studying math stuff for fun, but they don't do mathematics or stats for a professional job.
Okay. Okay. We'll go with it. Move on. We'll move
But
on.
yeah, just this guy sort of um, did some math, and I forget the exact equation that he had used, but if I remember, it was something like a I forget the exact terminology he used, but it was like a um, fuzzy oh, there, that's what it was. Um, they had used a binomial probability calculator,
Okay.
and the particular equation they used in that calculator was uh, p times um, um, big X greater or equal than small x. So essentially, just to get one gem to be completely maxed out, um, the gamut can span anywhere from $2,450 to $25,530.
Hmm.
And that's all going to depend on your luck with probability and everything.
Okay.
And pretty much just um, the conclusion is you were to if you needed to roll 230 gems 50 times with the worst probability, then then you would need a grand total of 11,730 legendary crests with each, and that's with the breakdown of each legendary crest costing you $2.22 per crest. So grand total for bad RNG, $25,530,
Hmm.
and that's just to max out one gem to 5 stars.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
if you're mostly in the middle, so just you get some bad and some good, um, you would um, you would only need to roll 69 total gems
Nice.
16 times. Yeah, no. So the total of legendary crests you would have to purchase would be 1,104 or 1,104 legendary crests, or a grand total of $2,450. So
Hmm.
potentially a person who has extremely godly RNG, they could maybe pay as little as a couple $100. But even still, that's
Even
a couple hundred
that's
bucks.
even a lot. Yeah. Okay. It's clear that if they want to make their fan base happy, they have to rework the RNG in this. They have to come up with some more systems that will give them more chances at like I think that it's twofold really. They have to come up with more free ways for them to get more crests and to get more items without spending money, and they also have to fix the RNG to a point where it's more fair than it is right now, because it looks like the system is not really that satisfying. It's really not fair to a certain extent, and it never is. But there usually are systems involved where they can boost the percentage a lot better. Within like some games do that, and this game does to a certain extent, but they'll still give you, I guess, a shitty kind of gem in the end. They need to rework a lot of this game right now if they want to maintain a loyal fan base to keep playing the game. That's my feeling of it.
Yeah, for me, just sort of just seeing just how bad um, the RNG was, even if you just spend money on the legendary crests, the first thought I could think of is, wow, this is as bad as a lot of domestic Chinese style
Yeah.
free-to-play mobile games, because with a lot of the Chinese market games, um, it really becomes a literal power grants you, or literal money does grant you literal power in the games,
Right.
at least for their market. And it was really, really interesting to see because just to sort of book up on the topic on how bad the RNG was, I decided to kind of look at some of the feedback from the alpha and everything, and some people are like, "Hey, just the game doles out legendary crests at a regular basis. Granted, it if they keep it this way or maybe tune it back just a little bit to sort of lightly hint to players, hey, you should, drop a couple bucks, get a couple things,
Yeah.
then, you know, it wouldn't be too bad. And then, of course, just comparing it to how the game launched now, it's just almost sort of a night and day difference. It's just
Yeah.
like, wow, they just decided to just rip that bandage off and just go, nope, we're going to do this the Chinese way and just see how many dumb stiffs can just really start dumping money into it. And uh, I think one of the more damning pieces of evidence on this is um, there was a streamer out in New Zealand whose professional job is a statistician. They
Okay.
blew the equivalent of about 5,000 US dollars, and basically just did um, legendary and elder rifts, just popping legendary crests as fast as they could, and throughout the whole thing, I think they only got a grand total of one rank 3 5-star gem.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
yeah, and it just kind of floored me. And granted, this guy was just, I believe they had said, yeah, it's not that big a deal, just the money is just some of my donor and sponsorship money, so it's not anything that's gonna hurt me paying my bills or anything. But it's a little bit galling, the fact that just dumping $5,000, the equivalent of 5,000 US dollars into the game to try to see how much luck that buys you, and to find out that in my case it only gave me just a rank 3 5-star gem. That's kind of souring.
Yeah. Why is this becoming so controversial right now when these type of games have been around for over a decade now? Or has it been has it been over a decade?
Yeah, I want to say it's probably been over a decade,
Yeah,
because
okay.
just hell, you when Farmville was still just a Facebook thing.
Good old
um,
Farmville.
I still remember stories of just people spending like $2,000 or $3,000 per month just getting all sorts of boosts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I forget who wrote the article, but this person who did sort of a behind the scenes of like the whales of Farmville and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it was just it was just really, really eye-opening and sort of insidious on just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Because I think in that particular uh, journalism investigation, um, some of the whales who agreed to speak on the condition of
Yeah.
anonymity said that basically because they were spending so much, Zynga ended up basically assigning them like a premium concierge agent to to help them buy whatever they needed. So like
What?
if yeah, so like if they were just like, yeah, so I want to buy this many boosts, and just um Facebook doesn't allow me to pay for those boosts with that large sum of money. And then this concierge would be like, okay, well, we can do a direct bank draft. So we just need your bank account number and your routing number. And, once we can verify the funds, boom, we'll start to hook your account up with all the boosts that you're looking for.
What? Holy
Uh-huh.
shit.
And that's where it kind of concerns me, just with some of these speculative numbers of just people saying, hey, if you get terrible RNG and you're trying to rank up one single gem to 5 stars and it could cost you almost $25,000, I'm just like, it almost sounds like Blizzard's got a team of concierges ready to go to start talking to these whales, going, "Hey, so can I talk you into, just seeing if you can get a bank loan for like 75K?"
For $50 you can just pay that $50 and get the whole pass. I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, great. So, okay. To me, there's two reasons why this is controversial, and one is that people just don't like free to play games. They just don't. And the most vocal of gamers hate these games and hate gotcha games. So they will shit on these games constantly. But why it's causing so much controversy than let's say a Genshin Impact, or let's say an Epic 7, is because, well, it's basically because Blizzard didn't need to do it this way. When you look at games like Epic 7 or like those mobile games, mostly they're from small studios who, you know, most games, who barely make a game, but they put in enough hooks to give the person purchasing power to level up something to make it more satisfying. And basically their business model is to grab that small percentage of people and get them to spend the most money possible. You didn't need to do that with Diablo. There was enough of a fan base where people were going to, like, even with the even with the hilarious thing that happened in BlizzCon 2018, where all the people at BlizzCon were like, "Are you serious now? That's terrible." If you would have announced that at an Apple press conference, it would have been huge. It would have been positive. People would have pre-ordered it with no problem whatsoever. There wouldn't have been a controversy. People were like, "Oh my god, Diablo on my phone? That sounds great." And these are mainly people who don't play games as much anymore. But if it's on their phone and it's Diablo and they haven't played Diablo since 1998, oh my god, that sounds exciting. I want to play that. You would have plenty of people that would have come in, spend $5 or $10, and you would have had relatively good you would have a relatively good payout. But because the greed in this is so bad, and they're using these tactics that, like, small Chinese games or mobile games from small studios use to do these types of games, that in order to get whales. They're using those tactics in a game that didn't need to do it. Is, I think, the big controversy in this. That if this was Dungeon Master 7 mobile, people wouldn't care. They would just say, "Yeah, it's standard mobile shit, moving on." But because it's Diablo and Blizzard, now they're like, "This is bullshit. This is so beyond the pale."
Yeah, and I think at least with my perspective being both observing games from Asia and also sort of the trend with their Western releases or just Western mobile games in general, the microtransactions for and sort of the predatory loot box purchasing, it's always been so much less severe in the West versus in Asia, because just in Asia it's just been really, really aggressive, because just typically, if you've got tons of disposable cash, then not a big deal. Just you just pay into it and you become more powerful, and as you become more powerful, you just uh, you can leverage that power, build out your bases in like a PvP game to be extremely powerful, that the only way someone could beat you is literally to spend more money in an Asian mobile game. And granted, there are examples of that to a lesser degree in the Western mobile game space. Like, I think Clash of Clans sort of has that going on. But yeah, just to see them sort of just um, go with the Japanese, or excuse me, the Chinese microtransaction model for Diablo Immortal and just dump it on the entire world at large and say, yeah, you want to get powerful? You're going to need to drop a lot of cash because you're going to need a lot of those legendary crests. It was just kind of galling and surprising for me,
Yeah.
especially with just observing uh, a lot of Asian mobile games because yeah, just I really didn't think that it was going to be that aggressive, and then just seeing how the game just kind of emphasizes when you do the tutorial for the challenge rifts and the elder rifts, hey, if you want better loot, you're gonna have to get these legendary crests.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoa, holy cow. So we're going with the Chinese approach, are we?
Okay, so final notes. I mean, as a game and for where it's good. I'm still disappointed that the PC client isn't optimized for PC, really. So, will I continue playing it? I think for the month, yes, since I got the monthly boon bonus. So, I will play it for the month. After that, I'm not sure. I'm willing to see if they will probably redo or they'll fix a lot of the RNG or or at least give people more free stuff to make it more satisfying to play. Because that's always a key thing that I think a game like Gwent did really well. Yeah, you can purchase packs, but they made playing the game satisfying. And while it's satisfying and you're playing the game, you could still get free stuff. You could still get free packs. You could still get free, like all sorts of different free stuff in there to still make it satisfying to play. So they need to work on that specifically. Um, like I said, for now, for the month, yeah, I'll play it. After that, not sure. And yeah, I mean, the monetization is horrible. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, for me, uh, I have had to stop myself because just it's just a little I mean, I haven't hit the wall yet. Everyone who has really put more time into it has said that it isn't until you get to level 50 and then you um earn your first 10 Paragon levels,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the wall just punches you right in the face and just says, "Hey, yeah, your progress is gonna slow down to a crawl. So if you really want to, keep moving with that progress, you're gonna have to, open up your wallet and everything."
Yeah.
So, and for me, just kind of seeing that from multiple reports, and then kind of hearing some of my friends casually talk about um, getting real close to that wall and already starting to feel the pressure, I was just like, yeah, I'm I just can't go on with this anymore. I gotta get myself off of this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just the temptation is just gonna lean in. Granted, I'd still be doing an investigation, but I just really don't want to end up making this game a time sink that I'm also spending money on.
Hmm. Yeah. I understand
Um,
too.
and I do have a minor gripe as far as the UI stuff goes on the PC client.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, one of the cool things that I found out while playing on the PC client is it does support controllers, which for me is really kind of nice because when I played Diablo 3 on Switch,
Mm-hmm.
loved the console controls. Just instead of me having to just click like a maniac, just um, I could kind of move around with the left analog and all that. So when I saw that the game supported um, a controller, I was just like, okay, cool. And the UI is just so discombobulated. Um, because when you play on controller, in the action space, it plays well. Your Xbox A button or your PlayStation X button, that's to interact. All your other buttons are for your skills and things like that. Just plays and feels like Diablo 3 on Switch, PS4, Xbox, wherever you end up playing it on console. The problem is when you have to get into the menus, like to look up the battle pass challenges, things like that. That's where just everything goes right out the door.
Yeah.
So when you get into that menu on controller, it goes all Destiny-like with like a little cursor on the screen that you got to move around. And just I could never find a setting that made that cursor feel perfect.
Hmm.
Because when it starts in the middle, every time I moved, there'd be like input lag before it would actually move. And sometimes just what I would think would be a tiny move would be just like a gigantic jump. And I tried to speed it up to maybe go, okay, maybe it's an input lag thing. Yeah, speeding it up, cursor ends up moving way too fast and has an input lag there. And then of course, when I put it on the low end, it feels like it's moving through molasses and has the input lag. And it just doesn't feel good. And uh, so that's one part of the UI gripe. And then the second part of it is, so if you remember when I said when you're moving around in the action portion, where the Xbox A button or the PlayStation X button is your interact button to grab treasure and loot off the floor and talk to NPCs.
Yeah.
Well, to accept changes or flip things around, for some reason, the accept button in the option screens is somehow mapped to the Xbox B button or the PlayStation Circle button.
Hmm.
And it is so annoying. When I
Sounds
was
annoying.
playing around, I was just like, because when I didn't realize this was what was happening, it just kind of annoyed me. I'm just like, well, I'm pressing the A button on my Xbox controller. Why isn't this option changing? And then, of course, by natural um, reflex, I push B to try to exit the menu, and I find out that it flips the option that I was trying to flip, and it's just like, oh, geez. Whoever was on the UI team did not consistently make sure that the buttons to manipulate the UI were consistent with the accept button in the main action part of the game. Holy cow. How did anyone get not test this? Because this would have been something that would have easily been caught in QA testing.
Yeah. Just I guess another thing to talk about how this is not the old Blizzard anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo! Zero! All this talk about Diablo Immortal. God. Got me so excited. You know what also gets me excited? Questions. And guess what?
Nice.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Alright. Don't get all hot and bothered and excited on me now. So, this was going to be a simple question before yesterday. But news happened in the gaming journalist industry that the main founder of Giant Bomb, Jeff Gerstmann, announced that he was leaving Giant Bomb that day for new ventures. He then announced today that he is doing his own podcast and Patreon, which to me is good. Well, we'll get into it. Yeah, so I guess the question I have for you is, what is your feelings on Jeff Gerstmann leaving Giant Bomb?
It's a bit of a sad moment, especially considering the origin story on how Giant Bomb was formed.
Yeah.
I know we had talked about this to great extent on my Discord server that for anyone who's not familiar with Jeff Gerstmann, long story short, there was a little Square Enix game called Kane and Lynch that
Yes.
had released so long ago, and Gerstmann was the assigned reviewer for GameSpot to do the review on the game. And rumor has it that the Square PR person basically told GameSpot, "Hey, make sure your guy gives this game a good review. We paid you guys a lot of money to, just put a whole bunch of Kane and Lynch ads all over your site to kind of hype up the game and everything. So make sure whoever you have assigned to review this, gives it a good review."
Mm.
And as the rumor or legend goes, someone from GameSpot basically told Jeff Gerstmann, "Hey, heard from the Square Enix PR guy. Make sure you give this one a good review." And Gerstmann naturally was just kind of aghast with this and was just sort of like, no, I'm not going to blindly give this thing a good review. I'm gonna give it whatever review it deserves." And of course, just as things would go, he's playing the game for review, and surprise, surprise, it's awful.
Yeah.
And he puts out a pretty scathing review.
Yeah.
And of course, the Square Enix PR person has a grand freak out and is just basically getting in touch with GameStop, GameSpot, and going, "Hey, you gotta change this guy's mind. You gotta do something. We can't have this bad review just kind of sitting out there."
Hmm.
And um, as the legend would go, the GameSpot person would go back to Jeff and say, "Hey, can you, maybe soften up your review? Maybe you were being a little too harsh. Just maybe there's some redeeming qualities that this game has." And um, Gerstmann, not one to back down from his integrity, was just sort of like, "Yeah, no, just the score stays. If you're thinking of changing my words, I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna bend down just to appease a game publisher because we might have a bunch of their advertisements plastered all over our site." And ultimately, that ended up being the breaking point, and he formed his own um, game reviewing site called that would be called Giant Bomb.
Hmm. Story's okay. You got most of the story right. Um, did you ever listen to the review of Kane and Lynch from back in the day? I
A
mean,
little bit of it.
okay, it is harsh. It is like whoa. Like when I listened to it way back in the day, I was like, wow, that's bad. Like, I can understand where someone would feel a certain way if they made that game. And he's just shitting all over it. I forget. I think what he said in the beginning was, oh God, I forgot exactly what it was, but it was essentially, it's a trash game for trash people with trash people in it. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I ended up actually buying one of the Square Enix mega packs on Steam one year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one of the games that was in the pack, and I was just like, all right, I remember Jeff Gerstmann's review is pretty bad on this. I want to see firsthand myself how bad this is.
Yeah.
And immediately kind of came to the same conclusion. I was just like, oh wow, this is brutal.
Yeah.
I can't go on anymore. This has to get uninstalled
Right.
immediately.
No, I agree. I agree. It wasn't a great game. Um, yeah, and basically because he says he's not doing, he got fired, and because of I think of an NDA, he couldn't talk about his firing at all until CBS bought Giant Bomb. I think 5 years later. Um, yeah, I mean I remember that distinctly because it was I was on the GameSpot forums at the time, and I was on their soapbox thing that they had a lot, where they would note people in the community who write good pieces. I was on there a lot, and this was a huge deal because it cemented what many people thought of the games journalism business, that they're in the take with the gaming companies, that there's too much of a relationship there where maybe their integrity can be bought. And that was proof of it. And for years, GameSpot, I think still to this day, GameSpot's reputation was damaged because of this. And then he went to Giant Bomb with Ryan Davis, and they created that, and they brought Vinny Caravella and Brad Shoemaker from GameSpot, and Giant Bomb became those four people, and Alex Navarro to an extent, but it was really those four people. And it became a personality-driven website where if you like these four guys and you like what they say and everything, you'll love their content. And it was great. Like, they were funny, they were intelligent with what they said, they were very personable, very likable people, and they stuck to the business. They stuck to what they were to do. They were doing, unlike what game journalists do nowadays, who fancy themselves as not just game journalists, but political activists and shit like that. But I digress. Um, as for him leaving Giant Bomb, it didn't it shocked me when I found when he announced it, but it didn't surprise me really. Um, I've been listening to the Bobcast since the beginning when it was arrow pointing down, and this past year, I mean, even in the game of the year, it just seemed like his heart wasn't in it anymore. He was still good, but it was just like it really seemed like, I guess, either he wanted out or it was just this is just not the same anymore, and I kind of want to do something new. So
Yeah, and it was kind of funny too because when the CBS deal finally finished and everything, I remember him making jokes constantly saying, "Hey, CBS I think owns GameSpot now."
yes,
So it's just kind of like, "Hey, we're back to full circle again,"
yeah, pretty
and he
much,
would joke about it a lot,
yeah.
and sort of in the back of my head, I would always think, yeah, he keeps mentioning that this is like going back to going full circle back to how things started. Just I wonder if he's just gonna break off or maybe leave Giant Bomb or something and start his own thing. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
I think you were probably trying to lead into what this all culminated to with this morning's news.
yes, thank you. At least
So
somebody knows what they're doing around here. Um,
So what this announcement of him leaving Giant Bomb yesterday culminates to is he started his own podcast
yes,
as of today, and he's going to be um, getting funding via Patreon, like most independent uh, creators are going these days.
right, and most worth their salt who who have their own personality, have their own fan base, are going to do that. So this doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me that I think he reached the $30,000 mark on his Patreon with 3,990 backers. So
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me. I mean, he like I said this on our Discord. He's the only games journalist at this point that I actually flat out respect, even though I don't agree with him all the time. Like if he says something, like I'm like, there's got to be an air of truth to it because he's just that respected, and he's proven that he has credibility. That I can say, okay, if he's saying this, then I should listen. Whereas with most game journalists, I'm like, you're just a mouthpiece. Okay, leave me alone. So
yeah. And it's always funny because I'm of the same mind as you that just while Jeff Gerstmann may have some strong opinions
oh, very strong.
on games here and there, just um, for me, it's always been when he just absolutely and genuinely gushes about a game, it will make my opinion or it will make my curiosity stand up real tall because
Yes.
there have been some games where he'll just be like, I just love this game. This game rocks.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of playing it, and at that point, it just immediately bumps my curiosity, and I just go, "Wow, he's really gushing about this." Just there's got to be a reason why,
Yeah.
and what makes it even funnier is sometimes the games that he'll kind of gush on about are games that I typically would never play.
Right.
It would
Right.
be something that I would just go, "Wow, I would never play this," but I'm really curious now because just he's very, very strict and critical about what he likes. And
Yes.
just for him to gush on and on about this one particular game, I really need to check it out. I really need to, just see what it's all about. And then, funny enough, just in some cases, the game ends up being really good and just sort of getting me to explore my boundaries a little bit more. And I'll be like, wow, that was a really good game. Not in my normal genre wheelhouse, but I'm glad I listened to his opinion for once, even if just I don't always agree on his opinions, but I'm really glad I took a chance on this one and gave this one a play.
Yeah, he's not afraid to take like a popular game that everyone loves and just say this isn't good. This is shit, and here's why. And the feeling I get with a lot of games journalists and game reviewers is they're afraid to go against the grain, to be the one that says, "Yeah, I don't like this." Like there's a lot of them that are like, if all these people say it's good, I must be missing something. Not with Jeff Gerstmann. He won't even pay attention to that. He'll just note specifically how he feels and says it. I think the one game that recently that surprised me with how much he liked it and I took on face value was Doom 2016. When before Doom came out, and he was part of this too, they would shit all over that game. It's like, that looks terrible. How could Doom be any good around now? Like, it just, I don't see why they're making another Doom. It's just old now. They should just give up on it. But when he was like, yo, Doom 2016 is fantastic. It is so much fun. It was like, whoa, really? He is not afraid to even say to somebody, I was wrong. This is really good. You should play it. And
Yep.
yeah, so
And funny enough, I think on the opposite end, one of the games that he absolutely reviled, and it's kind of funny because some of the original opinions have
every Sonic
since
game.
no, no. This one's a little bit more funnier because all the positive opinions on the initial release have aged like sour milk.
Hmm.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Because when it came out, I remember he was playing it. He was like, "Wow, this is bad. Just glitches everywhere, pop in everywhere. This doesn't look good." And just for me, that I wasn't really just like a big CD Project fan or anything.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I've casually played The Witcher 3 a few times, barely got past the beginning or whatnot. So I didn't have like just blind love for them. But I just remember seeing the majority of the opinions going, "Oh my God, Cyberpunk is so good. Don't mind the bugs. It's just a CD Project game. It's so good." And then for him to go, "Oh no, this is terrible. This is bad. Just
Yeah.
how could you release anything like this?"
Yeah.
And and of course just a lot of the games press were kind of in the opinion of just, well, we don't want to lose the potential chance of reviewing possible future Witcher games and stuff, and it'd be like, oh yeah, it's great, just this game looks great,
Yeah.
just just there's so much potential, the quests are so deep and whatever's, and then of course that all sort of fell apart, as most people likely know. And of course, the opinions of a lot of the game review sites ended up having to be appended with a message saying, "Hey, we're appending our review of Cyberpunk 2077 because the game is in not so great shape. So we're going to lower our score from like a 8.5 to like a 5 or something."
Yeah. Real integral. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so it
uh,
was just kind of funny just seeing that happen. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the critical opinions started to echo the opinion of Jeff Gerstmann. I was just like, ooh, wow, those opinions all turned out like sour milk.
yeah. Like that's why when people get advanced copies of games, and I know a lot of people do, I really take what they say with a grain of salt. So I'm like, there's reasons why you got this. So, um, what happens to Giant Bomb?
I saw this morning that they hired back somebody that was previously on the staff.
Dan Reichert. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Reichert came back. So he will be leading the current team there right now, but they've got a lot of work ahead,
Uh huh.
especially because um, I know over the last year, the podcast where Jeff isn't on, excuse me, Jeff Gerstmann, because there's also Jeff Grubb on the staff.
And
Just to
there's
be
Jeff
clear.
Bagalar.
Yep. When Jeff Gerstmann isn't on, the podcast just feels so off. It,
Um,
uh,
they meander a lot. They they
yeah,
they
it
have a hard time
almost,
staying on topic.
yeah, it almost just feels like that they're just completely lost, and they don't really have a strong point man when
Hmm.
he's gone, and then when he's there, just everything is just well kept together. The podcast runs like a sewing machine.
Right.
So it'll be interesting if Dan can keep things back in center, but yeah, just they've got a lot of work ahead because um, the site was built on the original staff that had started. So to lose most of the staff and see the staff go their own ways, it's
See, all the staff go their own ways.
yeah, because I think they all have gone to completely different podcasts too, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Vinny Caravella, Brad Shoemaker, and Alex Navarro started Nextlander. That's been going on for a year now. And yeah, and Jeff Gerstmann's going to do the Jeff Gerstmann podcast. So,
Yep.
the issue I have now with Giant Bomb, I like Dan Reichert, but he was good with people that counteracted his craziness. I don't know if you watched the Beastcast or listened to the Beastcast at all, or you listened to him when he was on the Giant Bombcast, but he's out there sometimes. Like he says some crazy outlandish shit, and it's funny at times. But to have somebody be the center of that is kind of worrying, because it's like, is that the direction you're going? Because if that is, I don't know if I could stand that all the time.
Yeah.
I like Dan Reichert, but he can be
Yeah.
much.
He definitely needs a counterbalance.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And they're and the video they show that they're optioning Jeff Grubb to be that counterbalance. I like Jeff Grubb. He does a lot of good. He does a great job in reporting. As a personality, I'm kind of not really on that. I kind of look at that and go, nah, I don't see that.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Giant Bomb is. It's personalities, and it's getting to know these specific people, and to have fun podcasts and have fun streams and videos and quick looks with these people that you like. That's what made Giant Bomb Giant Bomb. These people aren't Jeff Gerstmann. They aren't Ryan Davis. They're not Vinny Caravella or Brad Shoemaker or anything. And you're right. I'll give them a chance, but I foresee them being gone in a year. I foresee the people who run GameSpot going, or I don't know what Red Venture owns, but I foresee them basically saying either change it completely or shut it down within a year. Because Jeff Gerstmann was the site, and if he's gone, I don't see, unless they do a fantastic job, I don't see a lot of people sticking around. Like, they're going to say now, oh, of course we'll stick around. We love Giant Bomb. It's about the people. It's about the crew. But quietly within a month, they'll leave. Because it's not what they asked for in the beginning. And they'll just be like, well, yeah, it's time to go. And move on. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
As far as Red Venture, I think really the only gaming things they own are GameSpot, and then by a tangentially related vector, ZDNet, which does just technology reviews and usually how-to guides on how to do like basic IT stuff.
Yeah.
And CNET, I know does a little bit of gaming, but they're kind of light on the gaming side. And then lastly, Red Venture also owns Metacritic as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, yeah, the people who own GameSpot have always owned Metacritic, so yeah. Yeah, I could see within a year or two with them being folded and usurped into GameSpot to a certain extent. So do I want these people to lose their jobs? No, but I really look at like some of them. I look at like Dan Reichert specifically, and say, why won't you just do a YouTube channel? If you have that much of a fan base, like Jeff Grubb does his own too, I think. If you have that kind of fan base, you don't need to be part of a corporate machine. Just do a YouTube channel. The girl Jess O'Brien, she does a YouTube channel. That's how she started. Like, before she was on Giant Bomb, she was a YouTuber. She wasn't that popular, but she was a YouTuber. And when that, like, I like Jess, but when she got hired at Giant Bomb, being a YouTuber, I think they had 60,000 subscribers at the time. I was like, really? That's okay. I was kind of like, okay. I mean, she's good and she fits, so that's fine. But I think it's the conversation we had about game journalists on our Discord. None of these journalists, if they were to go on YouTube and start a career just as themselves, I don't think would make it. I think they would flounder and they would fail, and that's why they're in these jobs. But that's what makes Giant Bomb unique, and they're proving that now by going on their own ventures and being successful, by saying there's these 4 guys that are great personalities that people like and listen to, and that's what makes Giant Bomb unique and special and made it worth watching. I don't see that now anymore. And unless they're really going to change things, I don't see them being that successful.
Yeah, and it stinks because I mean, much love to the remaining staff over at Giant Bomb because they've got a lot ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's funny how I read somewhere on Twitter when they announced that Jeff left, they used a PR statement to announce him leaving. They didn't talk about how much they're going to miss Jeff. They didn't talk about memories with Jeff, or they didn't talk about. It was
very cold and sterile.
Yes, it was a perfunctory statement saying, I think it was Jeff Gerstmann and Giant Bomb have agreed to separate, and I'm like that. If this was on good terms, you wouldn't have that. You would have, like, when Vinny, Brad, and Alex left, they had a final podcast. They had 2 final podcasts. They had on the games on the Giant Bombcast feed, and it was literally called Brad's Leaving. It was just,
yeah,
and they all joked around and it says, good luck on what you're doing and everything, and they were very genial. It was great. And then they had the Giant Beastcast, the final episode with everybody that was on Giant Beastcast, and they had a great episode. And that you could tell is congenial. For them to just coldly say, yeah, bye, see ya, it's just like, what the hell happened? Like, the founding member who made this site what it is, you're just going to toss out like a bag of garbage? That's fucked. That doesn't look good. So,
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, just best of luck to the remaining staff. They've got a lot of work ahead.
You'll need it. Oh my God.
Yeah, they are so going to need it.
And to be fair, Giant Bomb wasn't a big popular site. I think the podcast was more popular than the actual website and the videos. So with the announcement on podcast feed that Jeff's no longer going to be there, I'm really curious how well the podcast is going to do. 'Cause the podcast is basically the most important thing on that whole venture. And if that goes downhill, and if that starts to lose subscribers and downloads, it's not going to be long until they probably are out. So,
yeah.
Well, on that note, that'll be it for this episode of the Capital Games Podcast. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about all the things that happened at E3, not E3 weekend, or if you want to call it Key 3, the Key 3 weekend. With that, I'm The Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.